Hi, it's Paul from Derivan. Today I want to go through some oil paint and the new range of 24 colours that we have and how we decide on how to sort of narrow that down if we're just starting out in oil. So we're going to talk a little bit about the colour wheel, and in the first instance we have our three primaries, so red, yellow and blue. So today, out of the 24 colours available, I've chosen a cool and a warm red, a cool and a warm yellow and a cool and a warm blue. So if you're looking to start a basic palette, I've chosen crimson, pyrrole red, yellow deep, lemon yellow, cobalt blue, ultra blue. So we've got a cool and a warm red, a cool and a warm yellow and a cool and a warm blue. So with those, we should be able to mix most colours, or a good range of colours, and a very wide range of colours. So I'm just going to take you through the very, very basics of colour mixing. So those being the three primaries, let's grab some bits. So, got lemon yellow here. And taking cobalt blue over here and some pyrrole red. So these are called primary colours because we can't mix those. There's nothing we can mix to make a yellow, there's nothing we can mix to make a red, and there's nothing we can mix to make a blue. But all other colours come from those. So let's have a look at what comes from where. So if we add yellow and blue, can you see that's giving us a green? So if we want to make green, we add blue and yellow. So the blue and yellow is going to give us the green. So let's have a look at these two side by side. So the yellow and the red. So if we grab some yellow and some red. And that's going to give us orange. So the one left over, if we just grab some blue and some red, that's going to give us purple. So we've got those extra colours. So we've got yellow, red, blue, green, orange, purple. So if we want to lighten those, let's have a look if we just add some white. So I've just got titanium white. So if we add this, first of all, into the green. And then here into the orange. And here into that purple. So can we see how when we add white, sometimes it makes the colour a little bit pasty or a little bit chalky. So we need to increase what's known as the hue or the colour intensity of that piece of paint. So with these two that are next to the yellow, we just add the tiniest bit of that yellow back into that colour. And can you see the difference between this and this? So this is a more pleasing green than this pasty colour. And the same as if we add it into that yellow. Now, if we need to change those with the other half of their mixture, if we just pop a little bit of blue into there, we can get that back to a darker green, but it's not as dark as the green we first had. And this, if we add a tiny bit of the red, we can get it into a darker red, but not as dark orange as the original that we had. So with the mauve, if we wanted to change that to a more bluey mauve, we just throw in a piece of blue through there. And if we wanted a more red end of the spectrum mauve, we just add more red to it over here. So the trick is just play with the paint, trial it, push it around. Now the curious thing is, with the blue and the red, we can get very dark quite easily. Can we see how dark that becomes? But with the orange and the blue, sorry, the orange and the green, if we want to make those darker, what we need to do is add the opposite on the colour wheel. So see this orange here. If we want to make that orange darker, so I'm just going to remix that here. So we're going to just take a little bit of that there, so we've got a decent puddle. So if we want to make that darker, we just add the opposite. So we're going to add a bit of blue into that, and that'll get us a dark orange colour. So that's going to be the dark tone for our orange. If we want to get this green, and again, I'll just mix up a bigger puddle of that so we've got something to work with. So if we want to darken that, we just add the opposite on the colour wheel. So we're going to add a little bit of red, and that'll get us quite dark. Now with the mauve, we don't really need to get darker than that. We've got it quite dark as it is. But with the others, add the opposite on the colour wheel. So in addition to these three primaries, so we've got a cool and a warm red, yellow and blue, I've got a couple of earth colours here and a couple of extras. So the first of the earth colours is yellow oxide. So if I grab part of that yellow oxide, I'll just place it here. And then I've got a burnt umber. Next, I have a vermilion, which is an orange. And then finally, I have a magenta. So, sometimes we find it hard to mix browns, but it's important when we divert to these browns in a painting that we add something else to them so that it's not the raw colour out of the tube, and so that the colour has some sort of interest. So use them by all means, but change them somehow. So whether that means adding blue to our brown or adding red to the brown, add something to it so it's not a raw tube colour. Same with the yellow oxide. Use the yellow oxide, but add something with it, just to make it more calming or more easily processed by the viewer. Now the other two are curious. This orange is sometimes a hard colour to mix to keep very bright. So I introduce this orange onto the palette so that we can have good colour intensity. It's just one of those quirky things with pigment that when we mix a red and a yellow, to get a bright orange is sometimes quite hard. So I have an orange on there, and we've got vermilion, which is a good clear orange. Again, we can also always dirty that or change it with any other colour if we want to tweak it, but it is a good and powerful clear orange. And the other one I have on here is magenta. Now the reason for the magenta is, if we have a look here, if we have red and white, it won't really give you a hot pink. So it's very hard to get pink from red and white, even though we think that red and white is a pink. Whereas if we have the magenta and white, we do get a pink. So we're able to also change that pink with any of the other colours. So if we want it more into the mauves, we can introduce the blue. If we want it more into the reds or a cyclamen type colour, we can add a red or an orange. So that's our basic introduction into really simple colour mixing. I hope that's been of help to you. There's just one last pointer before we go, and that is when you're laying out your paint, always put it out in the same order. So always the same order on your palette, and every time you squeeze it out, have them in the same spots. That way your painting doesn't become a fishing expedition to find where the colours are. They're always where we left them or where we're used to having them. And on our palette, if I just move this, we use this area here as the mixing area, and our puddles of paint remain clean. At the end of each painting session, always clean this off to a smooth surface. It will build up stains and marks over time, but that's actually good. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you next time.